Now the topic is NPK. N for nitrogen, P for phosphorus, K for potassium. Those three things NPK is related to the soil nutrient. What is soil nutrient? Soil nutrient or the nutrient are the chemical element or the compound element which are essential for the plant growth. Basic thing is that NPK is the essential for the plant growth or the plant nutrient. So soil nutrient related to the two things, chemical element and the compound element. Uh, Suppose nitrogen N, oxygen O, carbon C, those are the chemical element, or and the CO2, NO3, those are the example of compound element. Okay, now come to the next things. Where do the plant nutrient comes from? Rather, what are the sources of the plant nutrient? Basically, plant gather nutrient from the soil, basically from the minerals. And second thing is that decaying of the old plant or the dead plant. And third thing is that from the human being by the adding fertilizer, adding humus, all these things. Three are the principal source of soil nutrient. Okay. Then come to the about the essential nutrient which are essential for the plant growth. Okay. Uh, Basically the basic source of the plant nutrient are the minerals. Okay, and NPK are the essential for the plant growth. So NPK is known as a rather nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus known as a essential element for the plant growth. Now, why those are called as a essential element? Okay, and nitrogen, potash, and phosphorus are the mineral nutrients. Okay, the from the soil minerals, plant can extract with the help of roots and through a ion exchange uh, can take nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Okay, now come to the point of plant nutrient. Plant nutrient, that is the total process how the plant collect nitrogen, phosphorus, and potash through the roots. This process including three steps. First thing is the process of absorption. Nutrient absorbed by the plant roots, that is the absorption through the chemical process through the ion exchange. Second step is the translocation. Plant transport the particular nutrient to the particular part of the plant for the growth, for the nutrition. And third one is the assimilation, and this is the final step. Through this process, plant ultimately enriched by the minerals, by the nutrient. So come to the next one. Okay, first thing is that that the types of nutrient. Okay, uh, uh, those I have told you that the NPK are very essential for the plant growth. So NPK is the essential element, but among the various element there are 17 essential element. Among the 17 element, NPK, these three are the functional nutrient. Those are obligatory for the plant growth among the essential nutrients. So NPK is also called as a functional nutrient. Okay. Now come to the those are the essential for the plant metabolism. Without NPK, plant metabolism, but plant cannot survive. Crops cannot survive. Okay, we can divide the soil nutrient according to four groups. Soil nutrient can be divided into the four groups. First is the basic nutrient. Second is the macronutrient. Third one is the micro, rather trace nutrient. And fourth one is the ultra micronutrient. Okay. Now our focal theme is the macronutrient. Macronutrient. Okay. NPK is the macronutrient. Macronutrient. Okay. Okay. What are the unit of NPK? 1 ppm. What do you mean by ppm? Parts per million. Parts per million. ppm, parts per million. Rather, it can be identified with the help of milligram per liter. Okay, this is the unit of the NPK, milligram per liter, or ppm, parts per million. Okay, now come to the here I would like to mention one thing. NPK is the essential element and fundamental element, or the essential nutrient and the fundamental nutrient for the plant growth. Now question is that why NPK is called essential rather macronutrient or the fundamental nutrient? According to the Arnon, three essential criteria he described for the essential element. First thing is that the deficiency of that particular element, which are the essential element or the fundamental element, deficiency of this particular element, it makes impossible to complete the vegetable or the plant to survive or to complete the life cycle. Without those three nutrients, plant cannot survive, plant cannot complete the life cycle. Second thing is that second important attributes of the functional nutrient is that the element must have direct influence on the plant growth or the plant metabolism and the plant nutrition. From that point of view, NPK is essential and directly related to the plant growth, and without NPK, the plant cannot complete the life cycle. That's why NPK is called the fundamental nutrient, macronutrient, or the essential nutrient. Okay, now come to the point of nitrogen. This is the first one among the NPK. Nitrogen is the first one. Okay, it's defined by the symbol of N. Okay, nitrogen always plant through the root, plant can absorb the nitrogen. Okay, through the solution, a plant can absorb the nitrogen in the form of anion or the cation. Both form you can plant can absorb nitrogen in the forms of anion and cation. In the forms of anion, NO3, that is the compound element, that is the nitrate. In the forms of nitrate, plant can absorb nitrogen, and in the forms of cation, in the forms of ammonium NH4, that is the positive ion, plant can absorb the nitrogen. Okay, now come to the point of why the nitrogen is so important. What are the principal criteria fulfilled by the nitrogen to the plant growth? Nitrogen is basically needed for the leaf growth. Okay, it's provide the dark green color of the plant. It's basically for the it's basically for needed for the leaf growth. It is responsible for the green plant. Okay, it's responsible for the foliage, it's responsible for the vegetative growth or greenish color. Okay, this is very important attributes of the nitrogen. Okay, it's encourage the formation of chlorophyll. Without chlorophyll, it's very difficult to survive the vegetable, survive the plant. Leafy vegetable, it's encourage the formation and growth of leafy vegetables. Okay, and it is the essential constituents of the amino acids, which is essential for the plant growth and essential for the constituents of protein. Basically, very lucidly and very clearly, nitrogen is needed for the leaf growth. It's responsible for the dark green color or the vegetative growth, or it provides the greenish and greenish color of the plant. It helps to formation the chlorophyll. Now come to the point of requirement of nitrogen. Okay, normally nitrogen requirement is 1 to 5% of the total among the total requirement of the plant nutrition is 1 to 5%. Now come to the point of Now come to the next one. Phosphorus. Phosphorus is the second one. Its symbol is P. This is phosphorus. Okay. Phosphorus plant with the help of roots, with the help of soil solution can absorb the phosphorus. Okay. Phosphorus is the next to nitrogen. It is most important for the crop growth or the growth of the plant. It is next to the nitrogen. Okay. Phosphorus primarily plays a vital role in plant in storage and transformation of energy. Phosphorus is basically important for the storage and transformation of energy. Okay, and next, for the reproductive system, it's helped to boost up the reproductive system of the plant. It's encouraged the plant to disease resistant. It provides the plant to support the plant to resist from the disease. It helps to root growth. One thing I would like to communicate you that basically it's a plant. Suppose those are the roots, it's the plant. Okay, nitrogen is responsible for the growth of the upper part, and phosphorus is the responsible for the growth and strengthening of the lower part. Okay, this is the basic thing. Okay, provides the support to combat with the disease, and it's also provides the support of supports of loading. What do you mean by loading? In the paddy field, where paddy stem are very soft, with the help in during the rainfall and during the cyclone, super cyclone, all the paddy lying on the ground. This is due to the lacking of phosphorus. Phosphorus provide preventing the loading and its loading tendency. Okay, it provide the support of strengthening. The paddy grass and the grass can stand still. This is the one important criteria of the phosphorus. And climate and soil and the rainfall, very important criteria related to the phosphorus. Okay, because climate, soil temperature, and rainfall affects the rate of phosphorus mineralization from the organic matter, and it helps to decomposition. Organic matter decomposes and release phosphorus more quickly in the warm climate, warm humid climate. So phosphorus formation and the climatic condition. Here I would like to mention that we are going through the NPK, but we are the student of geography, so we have to identify all these things in the perspective of geography. So phosphorus formation is related to the humid and wet climatic condition. Okay, and due to the organic matter decomposes and released more phosphorus more quickly in humid and wet climate. So humid and wet climate is favorable for the phosphorus formation, and it's enrich the soil, enrich the plant to take phosphorus, and humid climatic condition provides the favorable condition for the phosphorus intake of the plant. Okay, now phosphorus can be absorbed in the form of hydrogen phosphate. Okay, HPOSPO4 minus 2, it is an anion, and the orthophosphate, in the forms of orthophosphate, it is also the anion. Rather, phosphorus absorbed by the plant root from the soil. Plant root takes up the phosphorus from the soil in the forms of anion, Okay, so humid and wet climatic conditions are provides the favorable condition for the phosphorus formation or phosphorus ion exchange. So humid climatic conditions and the soil related to the formation related to the humid climatic condition, just like the podzol, those are very rich in phosphorus formation, phosphorus minerals. Okay, phosphorus is released faster in the soil which is higher in O2 level. Okay, are much slower in the wet and saturated soil. Rather, bog soil in the soil of Sundarban area, those soil are suffer in the deficiency of phosphorus because to waterlogging and wet climatic conditions. So, phosphorus formation and the location of the area and the climatic condition is very closely related. And another thing is that soil with the pH value 6 to 7.5. pH value is always related to the climatic condition and location. That's why pH value ranges from 6 to 7.5 are ideal for the phosphorus formation or phosphorus ion exchange. Okay, so phosphorus formation and phosphorus ion exchange, or the phosphorus richness of the soil in phosphorus depend on the climatic condition, humid climatic condition, and the pH value between 6 to 7.5 is more favorable for the phosphorus ion exchange in the soil, and plant can take the soil through the roots, and it helps to plant growth, especially for the growth of roots in the lower part of the plant, and also it provides the supports to combat with the disease. Now come to the point of potassium. Potassium, normally defined by the K alphabet of K, requirement of potassium ranges from 1.0 0.1 to 0.5. Potassium is known as a traffic police of the soil nutrient. It controls the other nutrient. Okay, just like the traffic control the all vehicles in the road, just like the traffic police, potassium controls the others nutrient availability and absorption of the plant root. That's why potassium is called as a traffic police of the soil. Potassium is very important. Potassium is associated with the movement of the water. That's known as the osmoregulation. It's related to the movement of the water. You know, our national flower is lotus. In Bangladesh, their national flower was the Shapla. Those are the aquatic flora. Though the development and the growth of the aquatic flora and aquatic plant solely depend on the potassium and availability of potassium nutrient. Those process is known as osmoregulation. Okay, it's related to it's associated with the movement of water. Potassium helps to regulate the opening and closing of stomata. It helps to regulate the opening and the closing of stomata, which regulate the exchange of water vapor, CO2, and oxygen. Rather, it's reduce the transpiration rate, and it increase the rate of photosynthesis. It's very important attributes of the potassium. It increases the rate of photosynthesis. Okay, and it absorbed by the anion and cation. It normally absorbed in KCl form, that is the potassium chloride. Cl always the anion absorbed, is anion potassium chloride, and it also absorbed by the potassium hydroxide, that is also the anion. Normally it absorbed by the anion. Okay, potassium chloride and potassium hydroxide, but sometimes it also absorbed by K2SO4, that is the potassium sulfate. SO4 is the sulfate, and sometimes KNO3, that the potassium nitrate. Okay, those are the negative ion. Okay, now come to the next one. Okay, now think about the NPK ratio. What is the NPK ratio? Uh, uh, Basically, NPK ratio in the soil basically depend on the different plant species. Rather, different plant species require different kind of NPK. Different type of crop require different volume of NPK, and different soil types and the climatic conditions. Conditions is the amount of requirement of NPK depend on the soil type and climatic condition and what is being grown on that particular soil. So the NPK ratio is not standardized, it depend on the plant or the crop and the soil type. So now think why the NPK is so important for the plant. This is the basic question. The nutrient that are required by the crop is the largest amount, that is the NPK. The nutrient that are required by the crops is largest amount is the NPK. For the Indian perspective, the ratio of the NPK for the most of the forms is 4 is to 2 is to 1. But the ideal ratio of the NPK for the ideal ratio of the NPK is normally 3 is to 2 is to 1. But it's not fixed. It depends on the crop type and the soil type and what is being grown on that particular soil. So the nutrient are required for the crop, that is the NPK is the largest one among the various nutrient which are essential for the plant growth. Among all this nutrient, the amount of the requirement of NPK is the largest one. But too high and too low availability of NPK will hamper the growth of the crop, hamper the growth of the plant, and it will provide the low yield or the crop failure. Okay, now come to the second thing. So complete fertilizer, when we are thinking about a complete fertilizer, then complete fertilizer contains three things: NPK, and NPK is the essential element. That was the macro element. Those are the fundamental element for the crop, for the cultivation, for the plant growth. Okay, now come to the point of soil. To take an example of laterite soil. Laterite soil. We are all familiar with the nature of the laterite soil. Laterite soil is reddish to yellow in color with low in NPK. Okay, low in NPK. Why the low NPK? Okay, the soil is found in the condition of high temperature and high rainfall. And due to high temperature and high rainfall with the alternative dry and wet period, which leads to more leaching, of the soil. And this leaching is responsible for the oxide formation of the ions and oxide formation of the aluminum. Due to those factors, due to leaching, the soil is very low in NPK. So if the soil is low in NPK, obviously low ion exchange capacity, plant root cannot directly use the nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. So ion exchange is very essential. Low NPK is responsible for the low ion exchange capacity. So this soil is not fertile, not the fertile soil. So similarly, take an example of alluvial soil. We are all thinking that our Gangetic Delta provides supports to the paddy cultivation, and the alluvial soil is more fertile. No, alluvial soil is not also the standardized in the percentage, in the ratio of NPK, because it's also not so rich, not it also contains low NPK in the alluvial soil, because due to the humid climatic condition, due to the leaching, it's not good for good in storage in NPK. So for the paddy cultivation, manure and the fertilizer become the essential step. So even the saline soil, even the soil of Sundarban areas, not good in NPK. Okay, so in fertilizer, in the composition of fertilizer, three essential element NPK are very essential in the certain proportion of NPK or the to balance the balance ratio of NPK provide the supports of good yielding, and it will prevent the crop failure.